Bill Gates, for example, he did 10,000 hours of coding from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. throughout all of high school at his local college. And by the time he graduated, he had nearly 10,000 hours of experience coding, and therefore Microsoft was in existence, because when you spend enough time doing something, you become a master at it. Because honestly, anyone can go out there and make $70,000 knocking on doors if they actually just put in the effort, but most people don't, and most people really struggle with doing that because they're not motivated by principles, they're motivated by money, and therefore they give up somewhere along the way. So let's just talk about like how to set this up, right? So again, Steve Harvey's just trying to convey how to condition your mind to have a higher standard, right? For me, that's gonna be principles. And for a lot of really successful people, they're gonna be talking about principles. And I bet you Steve Harvey would talk about principles as well, and this was just more of, again, a clip from a thing that's sort of proving this point. But, again, I encourage you to go watch that whole video if you want to. So principles versus materialism, like just like I'm saying, there's gonna be times where the materialism is not gonna make you feel good. It's not gonna motivate you past what you need to grow past in order to be successful. Principles like honesty will make you do the right thing when you don't want to, even if it makes you look really, really bad. And it's gonna hurt. And it's gonna be really hard to be honest with yourself and with others sometimes, or to be disciplined when you don't want to and everybody else is having fun. But if you have these principles, you will be developing yourself when other people aren't, right? And so there's a really good book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, and he finds this thing called the 10,000 hour principle, where he goes in and he's doing studies on the most successful people. So like Bill Gates, for example, he did 10,000 hours of coding from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. throughout all of high school at his local college. He would wake up, he'd go to a computer in a lab, and he would actually sneak in. And by the time he graduated, he had nearly 10,000 hours of experience coding, and therefore Microsoft was in existence, because when you spend enough time doing something, you become a master at it. And if you master it, and you're the first person to master it, that's when you develop a Microsoft and Apple computers or something like that, right? And so you've got to, as a leader, you want to be mastering your craft. And if it's leadership, whatever field that you want to go into, the best leaders are mastering their craft, right? And so what you have to do is you have to condition your dopamine, and you have to create a reward system in your mind that you will habitually use, right? So for example, some of it could be when you wake up in the morning and you don't hit your snooze button. You get out of bed as quickly as you can, you go to the gym, you come back, right? And you make the most incredible breakfast ever when you do stuff like that, right? And you reward yourself for doing that hard thing, and you will feel good the rest of the day, for example. And on the days you don't do that, for example, if you're currently not doing that, you don't need to beat yourself up. But what you want to do is when you do something really healthy, have such a good reward that you cannot wait to do that. For example, when I was selling, I would be working 80 hours a week. I'd be working really, really hard. And what I would do to motivate myself on a really small scale is I would break up the day into a couple hour periods, right? I do this a lot when I'm doing my podcast, when I'm doing emails, when I'm approaching people now for my fitness business, is you set these things called goal periods, a 2-hour period, a 20-minute period, a 40-minute period, and you just set a timer. And for this amount of time, you are going to do nothing but do this one task that you have in front of you. And for me, that was like approaching, going and knocking on some doors. And I would have a reward system. If I had 5 people I talked to and did a demo to, for example, and 2 presentations, I would eat some incredible tasting fresh strawberries. And if I just did that for a 2-hour period, I hit the 5 and 2, I would eat these strawberries. I just feel incredible, right? Oh, so good, so good. But if I didn't hit it, I wouldn't eat the strawberries. And it was funny because it would condition my brain to be so task focused to do those things. So that's a small little thing that you can put in there. And again, that's what Steve Harvey's trying to say with, again, like doing first class or whatever as a reward. And I think if you're doing a lot of healthy things, it can be a good reward that I'm going to go do first class because I just spent 80 hours serving somewhere and I made a little extra money so I can use this thing, right? So that's a fine reward. But if the sole purpose is to get first class, that's not the right motivation, if that makes sense. So how do you basically get these dopamine releases to happen? Well, sometimes it's food, right? When you eat, there's a dopamine release. It's funny, dopamine's released when you use the restroom. Anything that is a good process for your body, right? And what you have to fight though is like the alcohol, the nicotine, the vape pens, whatever all of those things are nowadays, the promotion sometimes, the numbers, because what you don't want to do is you want to get in a dangerous place where negatively you're not controlling your dopamine releases, and therefore you're forgetting about your friends, you're forgetting about things. Because sometimes calling your brother, I'll be honest, I'm bad at doing that sometimes, but sometimes calling your brother is like, it's gonna be a 20-30 minute conversation, you don't know how interesting it's gonna be, whatever it is, and you're just like, woo, I forgot, or whatever. And sometimes your brain will be like, I don't want to do anything right now, right? But at the end of calling your brother, you'll feel good about it, right? You'll be like, oh, I'm really glad I connected with him, regardless of whatever stupid thing that your brain is thinking. Because we often rationalize, right? So what you have to do is you have to overcome that rationalization and not think. You just need to do. And that's where the principles and the habits come in, right? So reward yourself with something positive, that's healthy for you, that's good for you after doing a hard thing, you will start to regulate your dopamine releases and doing productive things that actually matter to you. Because being healthy, like there's no person in the world that's like, I don't want to be healthy. But in the United States, there's like 70% of adults who are obese or overweight, right? So why does that happen? Well, it's because you're not conditioning your dopamine release. You're allowing your dopamine release to condition you. If you're becoming overweight or becoming unsuccessful or not a good leader or more shy or whatever it is, it's because your dopamine releases are going in the opposite direction. That's why you have to be so intentional with this. If you don't fix your fitness dopamine release right now, your leadership dopamine, your learning, your knowledge capabilities, your social, right, your communication skills, all of these different things that you want to improve on to reach your goals in life, you're gonna have to take that leap and start redirecting and intentionally putting your dopamine releases in a habitual pattern to help you reach those goals, because it's not gonna happen overnight, and it's really, really hard the longer you wait. So if you've been like having dopamine releases to eat ice cream at 9:30 p.m. before bed every day for 6 years, imagine trying to quit that versus you've been doing it just because you haven't thought about it. And it's so difficult after you've done things for a long time. After the age of 25, it's going to be even harder. So I really encourage you, like, write down what are things that are holding you back in your life. What are 5 categories of your life? Some principles that you believe in, like honesty and discipline, encouragement, communication, leadership. What are these things that you want to develop in yourself this next 6 months? Write them down. What are 5 qualities you'd like to develop in yourself? Okay. And then rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. Where are you at on these, leadership principles right now, that are good, things you'd like to become. Just where are you at, 1 through 10? If you give yourself a 10, you're probably lying, right? You probably are an idealist, just like myself. I'm an idealist. I always think that I'm doing better maybe than I actually realistically am, but that's just the way my brain works. I like to be really positive, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you're a pessimist and you're giving yourself a really low score, again, forgive yourself for that. That's just sort of the way you are. Or maybe you're cynical, whatever. You can, again, change these things. And there's positives and negatives to being a realist, pessimist, realist, cynical. Not all realists are pessimists, but you get the point, versus an idealist, right? There's positives, negatives there. In fact, you should surround yourself with a couple different types of people to grow. But write those down. Where are you at and where do you want to be? And what's one thing that you could do this week that would actually move the needle on your leadership or your communication skills, or how encouraging you want to be, or how service-minded do you want to be, right? And just do one thing this week, just one. And if you do that, by the end of the week, you're going to feel really proud of it and reward yourself with some dopamine hits of strawberries or going to the movies or a fun thing or whatever social event that you want to go to. Like, reward yourself. Train your brain to have dopamine releases after you've done the hard thing as you reward to doing the disciplined principle thing. Do not be motivated by materialism of what everyone in culture seems to be saying of how you need this in order to be happy. You're not. You're going to feel happy and accomplished by doing the thing that is valuable, that's about a principle of what you'd want to become, much more often than just getting a car. Because I see people who get cars and make tons of money and they're miserable. They don't have any friends. They don't talk to their family anymore. They don't spend time with their kids, and I don't think that's what I want. I know that's not what I want. I don't think it's probably what you want. I don't think really anyone wants that. You can make a lot of money, be really successful with principles, and be a lot more joyful because you're doing things based on a why, a purpose, a long-term vision, a legacy, than just getting rich quick. Because honestly, anyone can go out there and make $70,000 knocking on doors if they actually just put in the effort. But most people don't, and most people really struggle with doing that because they're not motivated by principles. They're motivated by money. And therefore they give up somewhere along the way. And that's where you've got to actually care about what you're doing, and the purpose of what you're doing has to be bigger than the upfront cost, the difficulties of what you're doing. And that's why you need to be thinking about this kind of stuff in leadership. Because if you can figure out what your purpose, what you care about, what your principles are, and you can figure out your direction that you want to go in life, nothing can stop you from doing that. But you've got to start thinking about it now, or everything will stop you in life. It's either nothing's going to stop you or everything will stop you. There's not too much middle ground, right? Because then you rationalize, right? So that's where you want to get that standard of nothing's going to stop me from reaching my goals, figuring out what those goals are and why you care about them. That's what makes you unstoppable. Awesome, guys. Thanks for listening to the Knowledge Gap podcast. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoy it. I hope this is helpful in some way to you. And if you love what we're learning about, comment, like the video, subscribe as well on my YouTube channel and on my podcast platforms. We are growing pretty quickly, huge percentage growth in the last few months. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully you're liking this. But I love content ideas. If you have ideas on leadership that you want to learn about, we are all about helping you develop leadership skills and helping you get limitless career opportunities when you graduate high school, college, setting yourself up for the future. So comment below on all those kind of things. Check out my fitness company at the Elevate Wellness on Instagram, and the link will be in here if you are interested in getting in shape and losing some weight or building some muscle or whatever it is. They customize all the plans for you. So go ahead and go to getstarted.elevatewellness.fit to learn more. Oh, and if you are going to order some of the books that I recommend, they're all going to be in the description here. If you order them through me, I do get a commission to help pay for the channel. I would highly appreciate if you went through my link on this description thread instead of just going to Amazon or something like that. That would help me out a lot, grow this channel. So I appreciate it. So you're going to buy it, just if you don't mind just buying it for me, that'd be great. So more episodes next week. Thanks so much.